everyone, welcome to Cat's Creations. Hang on a second, I did not do something really quick. There we go. Had to turn my heater off. I totally forgot to do that. So welcome to Cat's Creations on a Friday night. We're going a little bit earlier because we have some rain and some winds that are going to be coming in the next couple hours. So sometimes when that happens, it really knocks our internet out. It could cause a power outage for us. So we thought, you know what, we're just going to go early. And hang on just one second. I'm going to move a light source for myself that flickers unless, turn on. Here, I'll do it. There we go. It flickers unless I put it in the right plug. So it always has to be in the front USB port one, if that makes sense, Steve.
Yeah.
And then, and it's still doing it right now. Maybe it was supposed to be in the back one. I don't know. Now it's like driving me crazy. Hang on a second. Of course.
Hi, Sharon.
So give me just 1 second.
Happy Friday.
There we go. Okay. So, we're going to be planning for a lot of really cool things because, and I'm going to show you this at the very end of the tutorial. So if somebody can remind me to do this before we log off and end the tutorial. We did this once before when we very first moved in is, I'll show you. I'm going to move the studio back a little bit and then we'll open the roll top door so that you can actually see that view. And that view is just amazing. So what a backdrop. So today, what I'm going to show you is how to make a wreath on a budget. We get a lot of people who like it when we can find ways to create home decor that is on a budget. Whether it's stuff that you have around your home, which is what I did today because I have a lot of fabric that has been passed down to us both by Steve's mom and by my best friend's mom just before she passed away. So sometimes you just have availability of product around but didn't know, oh wow, I didn't really think that we could do that. So we're going to do an Irish wreath on a budget. I'm going to pivot the camera down so that you guys will be able to see what I'm doing, how I'm doing. We have done something similar, but I found a better and a newer way to do it. So that's why the tutorial today.
Yeah, okay.
So before we do that though, if you guys want to save this tutorial for when you guys have all of your stuff together, click the share button below. It will share it to your personal Facebook page where it is so much easier to find than trying to find it on YouTube. You know, on my YouTube channel or try to dig through the Facebook post where you're at right now. YouTube subscribers, automatically you guys are going to be watching a Facebook replay from earlier on Friday, January the 6th, the year 2023. So for you guys to know whenever we upload new videos, you're going to want to hit the subscription bell in the upper right hand corner. Click on that and then you'll be notified whenever we upload a new video tutorial for you. So,
Karen said, I love your wintry look with your gray turtleneck. Makes me miss being able to wear mine.
Oh, that's because it's so cold here. We've almost got the shop to about 55 degrees. So at least I can take my jacket off, which is super, super good. So, but yeah, it requires one to wear thicker winter wear. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and pivot down. Actually, Steve's going to do it for me because he's watching. You can see where it needs to go. And I promise you we'll be back when it's finished. And one last little adjustment. And I think we're good. Right. We're hoping that the mount comes in that we need for this to happen a little bit more smoothly so that we don't have to make all these little last minute changes in trying to get the view perfect for you. So we're going to be using the Dollar Tree St. Patrick's Day or Clover Shamrock wreath form. Just with it like this, it's going to measure, let me see. Dawn. It is 18.5 inches at its highest. Let's measure it on the widest point. and we're looking at 16 inches wide. So 18.5 inches long, 16 inches wide. And we're going to be doing a rag wreath. We haven't done these for a while. So rag wreaths, you're going to, the reason why I do them is it helps keep the integrity of the form intact. You can see the clover better than if you try to do a deco mesh design on this or anything else. So that's what we're going to do today. How many colors you put is entirely up to you. What I can tell you is the measurement of the fabric that you're going to need, and then how many pieces grand total you're going to need to put on the entire form. So you're going to need 293. I know it sounds like a lot. 293 pieces of fabric that are 2 inches wide by 7 inches long. So, like I said, depending upon,
2 inches?
2 inches wide, 7 inches long, 293 pieces total. Then, once you have all those done, it's approximately like just under 4 yards of fabric total. And it's all going to depend on how tightly you tie your knots and, you know, how precise you are on your fabric squares. And for me, I like my rag wreaths to be a little bit more on the primitive side. There's some people who say, well, can you cut it with pinking shears so that you don't get the little frays or the little threads? Whatever you want to do is entirely up to you. For me, I like the rag wreaths to have a little bit of that primitive feel. So I like it to look like it was made with leftovers that somebody had. So that's just my preferred look. Now on this wreath form, you have a grand total of 10 sections you're going to be filling. So we have this one here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the clover stem is 10. So sometimes when we have fabric, like let's say for example, like how mine started, I had 4 different color types that I loved, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna have so many pieces cut up to go ahead and do that. And then you run out of one of them and you don't quite get one in every single section, because we're not just completing sections, we're also completing the rails. So in every single section, there's 3 rails. So grand total, you know, if you think about it, there's, you're going to need 30 pieces of fabric, but depending upon how many different fabric types you have, you're going to want to make sure that all of those are well represented throughout your whole wreath, because you don't want like halfway you have like 4 different color combinations you're totally in love with, and then you get to this point and let's say for example you're out of the 2, and then you're like, oh my god, I had to go back out and I couldn't find those 4, but I found these other ones that are close. You don't want it to seem like you stopped and started with something else. And so the easiest way to do that and to ensure that you will have an equal number of pieces, I mean, there's going to be some sections like in here that are a little bit smaller than, say, for example, in here or down here. So you might be repeating a couple of those color combinations throughout. Do you guys have any questions so far on what you need? Remember, you are going to need fabric cut to 2 inches or approximately 2 inches by 7 inches. I think mine is 1.5 inches on some of mine. You will need a grand total of 293 pieces to fill your wreath form with those measurements.
Joyce just said, oh wow, I didn't see one at our Dollar Tree, but yeah, that's where you can pick them up.
Yes, so these should be coming out. I think our Dollar Tree already had them, so they're just now starting to put out Valentine's Day stuff, so keep an eyeball out on that. Remember, sometimes it's not always found in the seasonal section. Sometimes you have to kind of go back into their crafting section, and lo and behold, there they are. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start. I'm going to show you how we're going to tie on, and then I'm going to show you how you can make sure you have a balanced representation all the way through. So we're going to start with something called a lark's head knot. So my kids call it the loop and swoop, and you'll understand why. So you're going to take your fabric. You can iron it, not iron it. You can, what do you call it? Scotch guard it if you want, not scotch guard it. It's entirely up to you. I like things the way that they're supposed to be without all the additives. So you're going to take it, you're going to fold it in half, and I'm going to start right here on the top because it's the easiest one to do. But you're going to need to do this on all three. So you're going to put your finger, like I folded it in half, wrap it around your finger, okay? And then you're going to pull it under your frame. Are you zooming in? Okay, so made a loop, go underneath your rail. Then you're going to put your fingers inside to grab the fabric you had, and you're just going to pull that nice and tight. That's why my kids call it the loop and swoop. It's entirely up to you. You could tie knots on it. You'll probably need a little bit more fabric if you're just going to tie knots on it. The reason why I like this is sometimes you might need to do a color change correction, and it's so easy just to grab this and pull it off, and then you're like, okay, I need to, that color wasn't supposed to be there, or I put too many of them on there and I don't really like the way that's looking. It's so much easier to take apart than if you do the knot method and just tie knots on it. So the easiest way to do easy representation, you can go up and over, you can go under. I like the under, like this. It's so much easier to do it. So we're going to pull, and then you're going to lay that flat. That's all you're going to do, and you're going to want to do this in every section on every rail. So the easiest way for me to do it to make sure that I have even representation everywhere is I will go across and I will do all the center rings. The center is going to be the easiest one for you to do. The inside bottom is going to be the hardest. So start hard and then work your way to the next one and then go here. But make sure that when you're tying them on, you know, you have one piece on each rail in each section. And so this one will lay flat this way. So I would take all my light green here and I would go all the way around. Then I would come back in with my dark green. I have them all like set aside in little piles. Then I would come back in here, do the same thing, grab my next one. There's that. Then go ahead and make sure that's here, here, and then on all three, in all the sections until I ran out. That way you know that in every single section, you have a representative of each fabric type that you've used throughout your wreath. Even when you get down here on the bottom, this one's going to be a little bit different. On the bottom, where the stem of the clover ends, you're still going to do it, but you're going to do them to where you have these on either side. Now this is going to be a little bit different on what we're going to do in here. Because obviously, you know, our fabric is laying here, here, up, out, up. And down here, it's either going to look, you know, fray out to the side, or what I have devised, it's going to actually lay in the center. And then you're going to cut this, once you get them all done, you're going to cut each section to where, like on here, I would do this. I would cut this so that it stays inside the section in order to keep the integrity of your shape. And then when you go ahead and, let's say for example, let's do this one. Let's pick the same one. Let's pick this sagey color. And we do this one on the opposite side.
I pick it, yes. She's folding each piece in half lengthwise before she loops.
Yeah, because nobody wants to see that washed out wrong side of the fabric, right? You don't want to see the white. Some fabric you may have that is like, it's the same on both sides. I find that if I fold it in half, it generally doesn't show, so that when I go and do this, now it's going to fill up each of my sections back and forth, and I'm not going to have to worry about, oh, I completely lost the shape of the stem. Okay, but save that part for the last. Get everything on, and then go ahead and make sure that you have all of your right colors. Obviously, when we start doing them here on the bottom, going up, like here, let's do our loop. Okay, I'm going to flip this here. Once we get down to here, it's going to be the same way. So there's probably going to be about maybe 4 or 5 pieces. Those 4 or 5 pieces are just going to be the background, and then these pieces are going to lay across the top. So it'll give some structure to the pieces that are laying horizontally by the pieces that are laid here just vertically. So it just keeps, as you can see how long these pieces are going to drape over in those sections, you're really not going to see it until it gets to about here down. Okay? Any questions on putting them in? So I pick one color, I go all the way through, hit all of my sections, hit all of my rails, and then I have extra. So like in some sections, like I said, you might be able to get 13 pieces, and on the smaller sections like here, you might only be able to get 8. On the sections that you have bigger, you know, more rows that can go, let's say for example, yeah, like I think I'm using 7 different colors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 different, actually I had 9 different colors. And this is great for using a leftover fabric, because the more colors you have, then the less fabric per color you'll need. But you'll want to make sure that you have them all here, and then you can just keep your color pattern going. Like if it's light green, then dark green, then light green, dark green, what have you. You keep that going, and then you just start over again. Now the whole goal is to not have your sections at the beginning all be the same. Like you don't want to start this one with a sage green. You want to start this one with like maybe a dark green, so that you don't have like pattern, you know, and the patterns all stay the same all the way through. You want to make sure it's got a good mix. So start someplace, and then when you're ready, like a lot of times I'll just put something right in the middle, and then just keep adding those colors until I have all my 8 or 9 colors done. And then I'll go back in and just start pulling them, you know, like spreading them apart and adding another color here, sliding it down, adding another color here, so that you have a really good mix. It's hard just to pick and just start. Like if I have 9 different colors and I have all 293 pieces, it's hard to start somewhere and then just keep going and then keep going and then go all the way through. Because like I said, sometimes depending upon how thick your fabric is, how tight you tie your knot, you might have 296 pieces needed. Or you don't need all 293, you only need like 289. So just take your time, start. This is the new for 2023 Rag Wreath. Add 1 piece of fabric on every rail in every section before you go back and repeat with the same fabric. This way it's all laid out. Okay, you guys ready to see it pretty much finished? I'm going to go ahead and map this over and move this to the side and show you what it's going to start to look like. I haven't finished it, but I have it pretty good going. So you can kind of see where the madness has headed. And you can see that I have gaps because I haven't finished. I'm still going in and adding those sections that I need. But this is the look. Is this the look? This looks different. This is the look. So you want to see the knots on your inner ring. I had it upside down. And then, because if you flip it over the other way, you don't see 2 rows. You only see the 1. So look, if we flip it over this way, it doesn't look very pretty. It's only like one row and you can't really see, you know, it's kind of what it is. Make sure you have it the right direction so that you can see the inner knots for the last row. You don't see the very bottom ones, but those are just going to be extensions out on the pieces that you have. Okay, let me make sure that one's through. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and make sure, like, I have a couple more pieces of this dark, it's like a Kelly green, and I have a dark green that I want to make sure is added in. So we're doing the same method, loopy swoop, lark's head knot. So I'm coming in here and I'm going through all my sections and I'm just making sure that they're all complete. So I did that one on my center. Here I want to break this up and I want to add it in here. Folding in half, go around your finger, go under, and then just make sure you get a really good knot on there. Okay, same thing here, kind of like it broken up in here. So I'm just breaking up the colors, but now you can kind of see how, you know, it's kind of like a coloring book and being able to decide, oh, there's too much, you know, of this olive drabby color. I want to add a little pop of a lighter color. So I'm going to do that in here as well. And then I'll show you how we're going to finish it. So I just have a couple more pieces to add.
Patty said she loved the frayed look a while ago.
Yeah, see, and everybody's different. Some people might not like the frayed look. They're like, I like it to look clean, and that's totally and completely fine. You can definitely, you know, take pinking shears and clean that up. You could, at the end, once you're finished, if there's any frays or threads, you could clean that up.
Linda said, I love the rag looks awesome.
And this is, you know, it depends on your fabric. Like, I had all my fabric already available here at home, so I didn't have to go out, but sometimes you can find remnant fabric on sale and pick that up. You know, if you find red, like right now, Christmas fabric's probably on sale. You know, you can look for something that's green and you can use it for St. Patrick's Day.
Sometimes they have those quarter samples, right, where you can buy a package and they're all kind of...
Yeah, you could do the fat quarters.
Yeah, corresponding colors.
Exactly. So I'm going to come in here now and do my bottom in a couple places. So same thing. I'm going back under. I'm going to go ahead and pull that tight, and that just gets tucked back under. That one's already done there. I need it in here. You know, sometimes even if all you have is like 1.5 inches of fabric left, feel free to go ahead and just use that. You know, use what you have available. I think there was one color that I barely had any on, and I think the fabric was like less, it's about 1 inch, and I really needed 1.5 inches. So that's what I was able to use. What are you doing? So I'm just making sure I have all of my colors in here. So I used a lot of dark, a lot of olives. You know, sometimes you get like a blue-green and you decide maybe I don't like that. These ones you can just flip. We're going to separate these. Add another piece in there. Sometimes it's just a matter of getting your fabric to go under. This is something you can also do while you're sitting and watching TV, because you don't have to be so perfect. You can just like, oh, hey, I see I want to add, you know, another color in here. Then you just grab your pile and start making that happen.
Any questions?
So I'm going to do this. I think we're just going around one more time. Okay, I have one more in here. Tried to save some so I could do that with you so that you could see how we do it over and over. Just make the loop. This is the no glue required method. And then as I do the bottom one, I just take them and bring them back under the bottom. This one I had, this one I need. Okay, up and over. Down. Around. Go back over. We've got it there, we've got it there, we've got it there. Okay, let me grab a couple of the darker pieces, and this will be my last time around. So what you may notice is the rails, right? There's rails in each section. And sometimes, no matter how close you put them together, it's great that the rails on the bottom are covered, but the rails on top are not. You can simply put your loop in there, do your lark's head knot, and then you're going to take and you're going to tuck that in to the center so that it's covered and we don't see that apparent transition any longer.
Kind of looks like a 3D rag wreath.
It is. It's almost just like a 3D rag wreath. So we're going to do the same thing here. I'm going to go under this section. If you want, you can do one piece on each end and flip that through. And then that's covered as well. You'll have one piece in here. But that's how you'll cover up those center rails, is just go ahead and put a piece of fabric on that and just cover that up. You'll need it in each section. Oop. See, sometimes when you do that, you don't quite get an even piece. So you pull those apart, make sure you grab them both equally, and flip that piece around. So you start to see that it fills. And like right here and here, you can see where I haven't placed that fabric. If you feel like it's too dark, like if I added this one and it felt too dark, take it out and put in a lighter piece. Whatever you feel needs to be represented, because you're the designer. Okay, we're going to do one here. So I'm just covering my rails right now. Flipping. It is. It is starting to rain here. Trying to keep the other piece below it from popping up and getting in the way of this one. So that's covered. Get this one in here. And usually what I do is I just sit here and cut all my fabric into my strips, lay them in piles, find whatever TV series we're currently binge watching at the time, sit on the couch, and these are one of those things you can do mindlessly while you're watching.
Unless you want to cut them, then you gotta have the rotary cutter.
Well, that's why I said make sure you have all of your pieces cut first. There's that one. We'll go ahead and fix this one, that one, and that, and we should be done. What questions do you guys have that I can answer for you about the method? You can use, people ask, can you use flannel? Can you use cotton? You can use, honestly, whatever you are comfortable using. I'm going to add another piece here. What I try to do is squish all my knots together so that there are no gaps. I have one here and I have one on the bottom. So there's that one. I'm going to put my lighter fabric on the bottom down here. It's kind of like I said, like a coloring book where you decide what colors do you want to see. Like, do you want to see more of the green? Do you want to see more of the lime? And I'll add a dark piece in there as well. These are the two colors I found that I wanted to incorporate, a little bit more of a dark forest green and then our lime green color.
Happy New Year, Jamie.
Okay, there's that. We're going to do this piece in here. That and that, I think, is all we have. I'm just covering my rails between the sections now. Tuck them in. That goes under. Do one right here. And they don't always have to be the same color. You can do a couple light pieces, dark pieces, whatever you want to see, wherever you want to place them. In. I'm going to go ahead and place another piece right here with my lighter just because I see it. If I see it, I don't like to see the mechanics of what we did. Sometimes we take other pieces in with us when we go. Okay. Add our dark here. I have all of my pieces here in a pile, so depending upon what I want to see where, I can just add that color. So if it's to the inside, I tuck it below. If I need to grab one to the outside here, I will just take and place that here. Okay, we have that one done. So let me show you what we did down here at the bottom. So here is our rag wreath complete, just like so. All of our rails are covered. So down here at the bottom, remember I told you we're cutting the pieces so that they overlap on top of each other. So let me show you. The verticals stay vertical, okay? Here's all my vertical pieces, just like so. Let's get that one to go under. And then the ones on the top end right where the rail ends. So they just kind of zigzag back and forth up and over each piece as we pull them down.
Patty said, I love the way this is looking.
Okay, so we'll take this one, then this one, this piece. Oop, let's grab this one up here. kind of laying underneath the other ones as we get closer to the top, so that these pieces now stay on top of one another, and you can, at least it kind of holds the shape of the stem a little bit more. This one, we'll cut it a little bit shorter. And so that's what you have as far as the rag wreath. Now, it's up to you. There's some people who go around and make sure that all of their pieces are exactly the same distance. You could do that, or you could just leave them, you know, a little bit more to where they're not as perfect, you know, a little bit more raggy, like Steve says. I like it to look a little bit more primitive. That's where the rag wreaths kind of gain their popularity, is that, you know, it was leftover materials that people had in order to make beautiful things for their home. So I like it to look simple. And here's the great thing, right? People ask about care of their rag wreath. So you could put Scotchgard on it if you were worried about it getting wet. But generally you could just take it. This is what I've had people do in the past, is if it got wet, they left it outside. They didn't know it was supposed to rain. It rained. They came back inside and they're like, oh, it looks horrible. It's all wet. It's like, take a blow dryer and blow dry it. And as you're blow drying it, just fluff it, because this is what we do to our rag wreaths when they sat in storage for a while, is you're just going to take it, you're going to come back in here, and you're just going to rough it up. You're just going to fluff it so that it doesn't lay so flat. And so you would just blow dry it and fluff as you go, and then lo and behold, it looks great again. These are perfect for storm doors because they are less than 2 inches in diameter from the bottom to the very top of this. If you left it in its state that it is now, you could embellish it, which we're going to do. We're going to put a little fun bow on this. I was looking to see if I had one that was more green, but we'll just use this one. I don't want a thick one. No. Is that the one that you're like privy to? You like this one? Yeah. Yeah, we could do that one. Let's do this one. So let's do this one. Kind of like it because we have some of the more olive textures. We're going to do 1.5 inch ribbon. We're going to do a basic bow on this. So we're going to dovetail our ends just like this. We're going to cut from the folded side to the wired point. Okay, that gives you your perfect dovetail. You need to kind of figure out how far do you want your bow to come. I'm going to bring mine right up here into this section, right at the top of my inner ring. I might do the bottom ring, but probably I don't want it to go any longer than the stem. So that is about 6 inches. So I'm going to take about 7 inches total, make a loop. Okay, all I've done is make a loop. I'm going to twist it. Going to measure out another 7 inches. Going to pinch it, hand it off, just like so. And we're going to do another twist. And we're going to measure out another 7 inches. And we've got our pipe cleaner here. We're going to go ahead and add our pipe cleaner.
Davey said, love this.
Okay. Cut that one way too long for here. I think I was measuring.
Better long than short.
Better too long than too short. Exactly.
And no, I answered you earlier. We only really have our one daughter in Central California, and the rains didn't really have the issue with her.
Oh yeah, just a lot of rain. That's what they got. So we're going to add this to the bottom, just like it would be like if this was a legitimate shamrock. I would think that, you know, right here would be a good place for our bow. So I'm going to place our bow right in here, right on my stem. I'm actually going to lift this up because here's my rail. Okay. The nice thing about adding bows to a rag wreath, so simple. You're just going to lift it up, find your rail, place that in spot, give it a couple twists, and come back. The ones at the bottom, remember we just take them and we tuck them. That's the bottom row. Just like so. I'm going to go ahead and fluff all that up. Just like this. And if you wanted to, I had it out here somewhere. You have a couple options. Dollar Tree has these little plastic coins. There's a green coin. It's just a clover coin. They also have the gold coins, which have the 4-leaf clover. And then on the back, it says a 4-leaf clover for good luck. You could add that to the center of your embellishment, or you could go get a nice little shamrock, which is kind of the whole basis here. It's, you know, a 3-leaf clover. We have our nice bow, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach this just with my hot glue. Again, Dollar Tree, or you can find them at Michael's, maybe Joann's. So just a little bit of glue to the bottom. I'm going to tuck this one right inside our bow, just like that. And let's measure the diameter for this finished product, because remember we've gone a little bit further out with our fabric. So finished design, going from the edge of the fabric to the edge of the fabric, not the rail form to the rail form. This is going to be 21 inches wide, going up from the bottom. We have 21 inches tall, and even with this bow, we're probably sitting at right about 2.5 to 3 inches, depends on how fluffy you want your bow. So this would still fit within a storm door. So we are good with storm door measurements, and you guys already know about the care of your rag wreath. You know, if it gets dirty, if it gets wet, blow dryer, fluff it. If you want to protect it from the weather, you can Scotch guard it, UV protect it if you want. But no matter what we do, things are going to fade. That's just the nature of the weather. Do you guys have any questions? Remember, the fabric is 2 inches wide, 7 inches long. You will need 293 pieces in order to finish your wreath all the way around. The wreath form is the shamrock or clover wreath form from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to show you what this looks like on a normal 36-inch door. So I'm going to have Steve pan up for me so you guys can see what this looks like on the door. We're all panned? Oh, go ahead and pan. Yeah, go ahead and pan. I've got you multitasking today. Okay. I think you're slightly off. Let me turn it ever so slightly. Are we good? I'm trying to look at what it looks like there. Yeah, I apologize for the seasickness part of the whole thing. That should be fixed by the next time we go live. All right, so here it is on our door. We're just going to simply utilize any one of the 3 rails that are on the door. And you can hang it at the bottom, you can hang it on the top, you can hang it on the middle. That's the nice thing, is you have 3 different options of where you'd like to see that. I kind of stick mine on the middle, because then you can go in between the rag wreath and you don't necessarily have to see it. But this is what it looks like on a full-size 36-inch wide door. So it takes up quite a good presence, which is nice for storm door users. Right? Okay. Any questions you guys have? What?
I pinned the private group.
Oh, yes. So if you guys would like to join the private group, we're on our Back to Basics classes. Those begin on Monday, January the 9th. So if you've ever wanted to learn wreath making or really want an in-depth refresher course, I highly suggest you join the group. It's $27 a month. You get both the business side of things and the design side. And this is the last year we're doing the combo class. Next year, it'll be just like if you want business, business is business, design is design. So jump in now, because even when we split, your rate stays the same. You don't have to worry about a shift in any price ever, as long as you stay on the group. So Steve has that pinned at the bottom. It's catchcreationsandmore.com. Click on the private group. I'd love to have you join us. All of our members love having that refresher class because things change all the time. So those classes are new every single time that we run them out, because we get new forms, we get new mesh, we get new ribbon, we get new tools that are available. And so I want to help you in your journey as a wreath maker to be able to save money, do things the right way, and yet still deliver great quality products like this. So this is available if you guys are interested. It's just, it doesn't show a picture of it because we didn't have it created yet. But if you're interested in purchasing it, it's at that budget price. So you can go to the catchcreationsandmore.com, and this will be there under Catch Creations Facebook Live. You can purchase that. It's the only one I'm going to make for this year. And was there anything else I needed to add?
Yeah, were we going to show the...
Oh yeah, you want to see the view? So I'll have Steve pull the door to the side so you can see the view from the roll top door. This is what our spring and summer Facebook Lives are going to look like. Is we're going to roll this up. We're going to move the entire operation towards the door so that when we're live, you can actually see, like if we have deer come in, you'll be able to see the deer, or when Amazon rolls in, you'll be able to see Amazon. But go ahead and push the button so you can see the view that I see every day, which is, I'd love to have it open, but right now it's a little too cold. So we're going to do it. That way a little bit further. So let's step out of the view. Am I out of the view?
No, you're still on the view.
Okay. There you go. That's the view that we're going to have. We're going to move the table closer so it'll kind of be like we're outside in the forest, but not really. Because you still need to have Wi-Fi, so, and internet and all that other fun stuff. So we'll just be moving it a little bit closer so that you'll be able to see the view, and it'll be fun. I can't wait to share with you everything that God's placed on my heart for 2023. If you're interested in a Bible study group, we do have a Bible study group available. It is for free. You can find me on Facebook at Catch Creations Bible Study. It's 100% free. Just request to join because we keep the group private. A lot of people ask for prayer, and we talk about an awful lot of stuff in there, so we want your information to be private and secure. And I think that's about it. Yep. All right, everyone. Well, have a good evening. I hope you have a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now, everyone.